What's going on, guys? Stefan here with you, S&E's Garage. Today we are in the shop with a 2021 Mazda 6, and we are going to be replacing the rear brakes and then doing a brake flush on this car. Now this vehicle uses an electronic parking brake in the rear, so your first step is going to be to go ahead and put it in service mode. I'm going to go ahead and screenshot the directions right here. Super easy to do. It took me like 2 or 3 tries, but we went ahead and put it into maintenance mode. So now we're going to go ahead, we're going to pull the back wheels and get started. So we're going to be using some dynamic friction ceramic pads here, and then we have some dynamic friction coated rotors. The pads are going to be 1551-1874-00. Okay, and then the rotors are going to be a 604-80051. And then we have some Brembo .4 brake fluid. We have this unit here to keep the master cylinder full. And we are going to be using this Mighty Vac automotive test and bleed kit to go ahead and flush the brakes. So I'll leave all this stuff in the video description below: the fluid, the master cylinder reservoir thing, and the bleeder. And like I said, pull the wheels off, get started. So these brakes aren't super low. They're right at about the point where I start recommending them to people. And this customer just happens to have a baby, and they do a lot of highway driving. So she would rather nip it in the bud. The dealer told her she needed them. I took a look at them, and I told her, you know, you could go maybe to your next oil change if you wanted, but if it were my car, I would just go ahead and change them. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do. So now that we went ahead and put this into service mode, when you do the service mode, you're going to hear these back all the way out. That's how you'll know it's in service mode, and you'll see the parking brake light up on the dash. So now it's basically just a regular brake job. So we're going to go ahead, these look like 14 millimeters. We're going to go ahead and pull the calipers off, and then we'll get the caliper bracket. They also look like 14s, and then we can pop the rotor off and retract the caliper. All right, so these are a 13 millimeter, and for some strange reason, Mazda uses blue Loctite on these. So what was happening when I would try to loosen this, it was just spinning the slide pin. So I just went ahead and I grabbed it with a pair of needle nose vice grips. So what you'll see here now is if I try to loosen this one, let me just show you here. It spins the whole boot. So you just take your vice grips. It's a 17 millimeter, but with that flared end on there, right here, the wrench won't fit. So like I said, I'll just take my vice grips here, give them a nice squeeze. There we go. You get the idea. So now let's go ahead, loosen this, get the caliper off. So like I said, now that we got this in the service mode, we can just go ahead and treat it like a normal caliper. We just went ahead and used our Lang 227, I believe it is. Yep, oh no, 277 caliper compressor. It's ratcheting, compresses them nice and easy. I'll leave one in the video description below. Now we can just go ahead like so and pull our pads off. Okay, set them aside. Now we just have to go ahead and remove these guys here. These ended up being 13 millimeters. I believe I said that. So let's see if these are 13s as well. They are not. Let's go figure out what size we need. So for these, you're going to need a 14. All right, guys, caliper brackets off. We're just going to go ahead and give the rotor a little love tap here. And she'll come right off. Now, another option you have is to find a bolt that threads into this and thread it in, and it'll pull it off the hub. I just happen to think this is easier. So now we're going to go ahead and take this wire brush, clean our hub up. So here we have a happy customer here getting her car done. And what we've done so far is we went ahead and we put our rotor on the hub that we just freshly cleaned. And we went ahead and reinstalled our caliper bracket here. So now the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take some lube here and we're gonna put some lube on either side of the pads, and then we're going to slide them into the bracket. We did clean this off with a wire brush, so everything is good. So these cars are kind of weird in the fact that they don't use any shims here or hardware. The pad just kind of slides in. So I just want to lube these up. Again, you'll see I'm just putting a little bit of this purple Smurf juice here on the ears of the pad. And then we are just going to go ahead and slide them in like so. I'm going to do the same thing on the pad that is going on the back side of the caliper, like so. Just take some of this, goop it on. Okay, so now go ahead, slide that on. Again, we did go ahead off camera, we tightened our caliper bracket. That's nice and tight. So now our caliper should just slide right into place here now that it is nice and compressed. There we go. The parking brake module kind of gets in your way a little bit there, but go ahead and start these. Now off camera, I'm just going to go ahead and tighten them down. Okay, we're done on this side. Let's go ahead over to the other side. We'll do a quick time lapse, and then we'll show you how we're going to flush the brakes.
Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we're gonna light it up tonight. We're gonna light it up tonight. We're gonna light it up just like the sunrise. We're gonna light it up.
Okay guys, so the actual physical act of doing the brake job is now complete. We went ahead, we installed our new pads, we lubed up the sides of the pads before we installed them, we cleaned our caliper bracket like you saw, and then we compressed it. So the next thing we're going to go ahead and do, we're going to go ahead and lower the car, we're going to get in it, and we're going to step on the brake pedal a couple times, get the pedal nice and hard, and then we're going to go ahead and take this thing out of service mode. Getting it out of service mode is the same as getting it in service mode, except instead of pushing the parking brake button down, you're going to pull it up. So again, here's those directions. Just pull it up instead of pushing it down, and you'll have no problems whatsoever. So let's go ahead, lower the car, step on the pedal, and do that. Okay guys, so what we're going to do now is we're going to take a pocket screwdriver, we're going to clean it off real nice, and there is a little strainer in here for the brake fluid that we want to go ahead and remove. Now we want to remove this so that we can get our hose down into this master cylinder here and suck it dry, because what we want to do is suck all of this old brake fluid out and put new brake fluid in before we start to flush it. That way, while we flush, we're getting new brake fluid into the lines and into the calipers and things like that. So this is just a little bit tricky. Okay, and we're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. We don't need to get every last drop of this out. We do just want to try to get as much of this old stuff out of this master cylinder as possible, so that when we're bleeding with new fluid, we have a head start. Okay, so I am good with this. You'll see how yellow this brake fluid looks. It looks like junk actually. So let's go ahead, dump this out, and then we'll fill that up with some fresh fluid. So off camera, we went ahead and set up our strainer. We put our strainer back in, and now we're going to go ahead and set up our master cylinder filler here. And like I said, this is going to ensure that our master cylinder stays full throughout the flush process. Now what you're going to see is it's actually, as we speak, is filling the master cylinder with some fresh brake fluid. So let's go ahead to the back of the car, jack it back up. We're going to start at the far right corner and work our way around. All right guys, so now that we have some nice fresh pads here, these calipers are not going to have that much brake fluid in them. So you don't have to run a ton of brake fluid through this. I'm just going to go ahead and fill this up probably twice on this corner of the car, simply because there's still some old fluid in the master cylinder and we want to suck that down. But we're just going to use a 10 millimeter here. And we're going to open our bleeder like so. Okay, and now we're just going to sit here and we're going to pump, and you'll see it's going to start sucking out some brake fluid, and we just have to do this a whole bunch of times until this thing's filled up. So again, I'm not going to sit here and record that all. It's going to take a little while, but that's more or less the size of it. All right guys, we ran our first bottle through here. We're going to go ahead, grab the second one again one more time, and then we'll move over to the driver's side. And for the rest of them, we're only going to run one bottle through each. Like I said, the only reason I'm doing two back here is to get all the old junk out of the master cylinder that we missed. All right guys, and that's going to be it for this video. Our nice new brakes are installed. We did go ahead and flush all the rest of the wheels. Like I said, we ran one bottle through all the other wheels. The passenger rear, we did 2 bottles just to get all the old fluid out of the master, and everything's good. This brake fluid is good for another 3 to 5 years, and her brakes are good for as long as she needs them. So please like, share, subscribe. Again, everything we used will be in the video description below. If you buy from those links, it does help the channel greatly. And we'll see you next time.